By. You may or may not be new to my channel, but I have quite a selection here. Very, very diverse subjects. Some are in the arts, like literature. Some are in the sciences. Some are in um, different things. So basically, I am taking a break. So this is a break, and it is on. I'm going to let you know why I haven't put the Barron Trump series up. I have a lot of projects due this week, and I'm working on a paper on obesity. And one of the things that it's for psychoneuroimmunology, and I was detailing how the medical industry currently classifies obesity, what the world health burden is on that, and all the other junk about that, right? So there's this approach toward obesity that the Obesity Society, right here, would like changed. They have a position statement, and they say that they want it to be classified as a non-communicable disease and not just a risk factor. And they lay out the reasons why. Okay, and they invite different people to join, but their position statement is here if you want to go see it. Now, I tend to agree with this Obesity Society after reviewing the literature and looking at the research. Now, I was really amazed to learn that your immune cells are stored in your fat cells. They call it adipose tissue. Your innate immune system and your adaptive immune system. This was a real shock to me. I thought the blood was made in the bone marrow and that the immune system was working a little differently than it is. So I had to take and read some literature on that and make sense out of it all. But anyway, the long and short of this is that a lot of times people will go to the doctor, and the doctor is trained in a paradigm that it is a risk factor, not that it is a non-communicable disease. And they're like not trained in dietetics or different things like that. They might refer you to a dietitian. They have radical surgery to try to stop your hunger by cutting it off. They have different methods, and it actually works. I know a in-law of mine. I'm not married anymore, but ex-in-law. She had the surgery. She lost a lot of weight pretty fast, and it helped her, and it's actually different for different people. But what the big thing is here is that there's a lot of different therapies for obesity. And let me just back up for a second, because if it's a disease, which I believe it is, because the fat cells work in the endocrine system, and they respond to stress. Now, this particular this graphic is from this particular article here. You can get the article on Google Scholar. It's downloadable, and the graphic is in there. Now, the particular paradigm of the article assumes that there's a psychological disorder, but honestly, this is just a stress reaction, okay? And they're thinking it's a maladaptive pattern, but actually, it's like which came first, the chicken or the egg. basically, I don't agree with their entire paradigm, but the axis that they're showing is correct, and the fact that it causes there's a cardiovascular disease risk is true, and so is the most of what they write is very true. It's just how they do it based on a different paradigm. But it's correct, is what I'm saying. That's why I used it. The paradigm that I would suggest is the paradigm that although, now obesity is different from overweight. I just want to distinguish that. And I want to give you a particular a video you can watch right here on YouTube. And it's called, it's by Dr. Tracy Mann. She wrote a book called, here it is, Secrets from the Eating Lab, The Science of Weight Loss, The Myth of Willpower, and Why You Should Never Diet Again. Never diet again. Now, what she is looking at, or was looking at, is she did longitudinal studies or panel studies. And where is her video? Oh, it's under Google, right? That's right. It was a Google Talks. Here it is. Okay, I gotta go check the date on that. I gotta fix that. So if you want to know more about obesity, I'm gonna put these links below, and you can look at the Tracy Mann one. She has maybe like a 15-minute Google talk on her secrets from the eating lab. And I read her book, and it's very good. It also kind of goes with the new theory, or the new way of thinking that the Obesity Society suggests, is that people that are overweight to the point of being obese have a metabolic disorder, and a lot of this is genetic. And it is the reason the obesity rates are increasing is not because there's more junk food and processed food alone, okay? Because really putting a tax on sodas is not going to solve the urges for high-density, calorie-rich foods, which are triggered by the mechanism in the body. The body's throwing off chemicals. And so there's this uncontrollable urge in the person, brought off by chemical messengers in their body. They cannot help it. Okay? In other words, it's very difficult to turn off. Now, what these doctors propose is that it's a psychological disorder, but I'm telling you, it's more than a psychological disorder. It is a complete bidirectional, systematic, dynamical disease. It's a non-communicable disease. Now, they did show that the microbiome, which are the little good beneficial bacteria or non-beneficial bacteria, they do throw off chemicals that will change your chemical messengers, your inflammation, different things in your body. So there's a whole really dynamic thing going on. It's not just that you can just turn it off. That's why they need interventions like surgery or other interventions. So it's not just educating people, but it's also how you're stressed and your lifestyle. How does that happen? In other words, the idea that a person has a choice on how they're going to show up and handle this is, it's basically it's a conglomeration of different things. You can't just say it's one thing. It's like ridiculous to be putting a tax on sodas. Okay? So basically, some people are more resilient than others. Some people are affected more by stress than others. And here's some key takeaways you can take from this, okay? And I'm just going to have to wrap it up. If I can just let you know, this is what I'm working on. Stress causes you to gain weight. Cortisol's released. Your body, your glucose is increased. That's the sugar circulating in your blood. So there's this metabolic pathway from stress, and it causes a person to crave high-density foods to mitigate the stress, because you've got to have a certain amount. You've got to have homeostasis. You've got to have a balance in your body. Your body is seeking balance. So learning how to deal with stress, the psychodynamic approach, and then also different things like sleep hygiene. There's the Sleep Foundation, and basically when you sleep, your body will help you lose weight. It helps you reduce stress. But one of the problems, this is the APA, the Sleep Foundation is, well, there's quite a few of these, but I just told you in a nutshell, there's a lot of sleep foundations, evidently. But so sleep might get disrupted for various reasons, like sleep apnea. I just saw that there. So basically, sleep is extremely important. Now, if you are overweight, it can interfere with your sleep. It's a disease, in my opinion, and in the Society of the Obese. So, if you're overweight, do you know if you're obese? Well, Tracy Mann, Dr. Mann, the one that is in Google Talks, does not believe the BMI index is a good index. And the BMI is what they use to classify obesity right now. And it's just a formula for calculating weight. And there's different tables depending where you're at, but it is a worldwide epidemic right now. Obesity is, and it is not. So there's a calculator from the National Institutes of Health in the United States of America for you to figure out if you're what they characterize as a healthy weight, and they say if you're 30 or greater, then you are overweight. And I want to say something about these calculations. There are progressive PhDs and MDs that do not believe that it's that cut and dry, and they know it isn't. They can sense it. They're looking at different things. Someone muscular can be a hell of a lot healthier than someone that is, by the way, these chemicals that make you hungry or give you the cravings, leptin, insulin, granulin's the hunger, these circulate in your body, and they send off these messengers. And so your ability to resist this is difficult. Now, I'm going to say that the BMI, take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because there's other ways of measuring weight, and a lot of this stuff is genetic, and we're learning new things every day, okay? So you can plug this in. Another thing I wanted to say is Dr. Longo has been doing studies on longevity and weight with mice, and he has a book called The Longevity Diet. And one of the things he had noticed about older people, 65 and up, is that if they weigh just a little bit more, it's actually better for them. And I think the reason why, so he's saying the BMI weight wasn't quite, it could be tweaked based on your age a little bit. And that older people, I do believe they shrink in stature due to compressed discs and things like that, so, or bone mineral loss. So they'll be shorter, but they could weigh more if they were more muscular. So these charts define obesity, but they're not necessarily accurate. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is to take a peek at what's going on in the world with the COVID, because this is a risk factor for COVID, and I say they already have a non-communicable disease. I'm just doing the John Hopkins COVID map and plugging that in, and so this is the United States. I want to look at the global map, and I will tell you that if you do have an overweight problem, it's something that can be worked on. There's a lot of different ways to deal with it, but realize that the medical industry has a paradigm or an approach that somehow, you know, you can just go on a diet and an exercise regime and you'll be fine. The thing is, a lot of times with increased weight is mobility issues. And so it's a real, you know, they call it the battle of the bulge. So right now, America's got 5,017,150 known cases that, and I do say known, we'll be up at 20 million very soon globally. And the deaths in the United States are up at 162,000. Dr. Vong has been saying that in the fall there's going to be an increase. I watched him, I think it was last week, and he is another one of the doctors that I watch on YouTube, and he actually does bariatric surgery, I believe it's called, and he helps people that are overweight. And he's got his opinions and everything, so I'm not totally endorsing all of his opinions. I'm just saying that he does have a medical degree and he has current practices, and most MDs in the United States are trained to approach it as a risk factor rather than a disease, as the obesity society would have us understand it a little bit better, the mechanisms behind it. And they are working on research to educate and treat it as a non-communicable disease, possibly inherited, and so on and so forth. So people that are obese are at risk for a lot more than just succumbing or dying because of COVID. Their mortality rates are higher for a number of things, and that is why I think that a dynamical approach is called for, and Tracy Mann probably agrees, but her studies are somewhat limited to you know, studying appetite and things like that. Now, but her information is very useful, and it actually supports the neuroimmunological approach, which is, look, the body is genetically predisposed to this. It's an irresistible impulse. It's being driven by these chemical messengers. These people are not lazy. Their metabolism actually does slow down. They have inflammation in their body. that is being set off. Their microbiome also has been noticed that it's a little bit different. And even when they insert these probiotics that are going to cause weight loss or gain, they're not a magic bullet. So they've done quite a few studies on the mice. So that's what I'm going to say. And it's not hopeless. It can be controlled. And we're just moving forward one day at a time. And I will try to get the Barron Trump video up as soon as possible. I might not be able to get it till tomorrow. But I'm reading through the series of works of art that are from the past. They had this book, The Last President, that everybody just loved, and some political things going on. But, you know, sometimes disease is treated politically and socially, and, you know, they get a consensus among medical doctors, yeah, that's what I think it is. And then they have society define how these are going to be approached, how insurance is going to pay for things, and whatnot. So, obesity is a BMI currently defined of 30 and over. Now, morbidly obese is a higher level where you're really having trouble getting around and you're really big. And I think that if you get to that point, insurance, you know, they have different ways of measuring things. Insurance will pay for like bariatric surgery. But other than that, the medical systems are not really designed right now in a way that's going to help tackle this worldwide problem. And it's not just because there's more of a food supply, more leisure time. It's not a matter of a person being a malingerer or maladaptive. It's because they're inside them, their cells inside them, their chemical messengers in them are causing this stress in them, and it also slows them down. And this inflammation, it's hard to move around and exercise. That's why, you know, they'll say use aquatics, get in the swimming pool if your joints are hurting, or take pain pills. I don't think pain pills are a good idea because they slow things down even more. So yeah, I would suggest, if you really are interested in this topic, that you go to these other links, and I can do a more in-depth thing on this if you want. But this is just a taste of what I'm working on. And it is a worldwide epidemic, by the way. I went to the World Health Organization. Their stuff's not that updated, though. The last update they have on the worldwide obesity rates is based on 2015. The CDC is based on 2018. So while this disease, as I call it, is a huge burden economically, causing people to need blood pressure medicine, diabetes medicine, all kinds of costs to society, lost work days, lost productivity, because it's a sickness, are just thrown under the rug. And this needs to be addressed in the future, and it needs to be addressed in a different way than it is right now, because these people should be helped, and it should be addressed as a disease, not as a risk factor alone. And that's what I'm going to say for today. I thank you for watching. Take care and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.